Deputy Donnelly has 10 minutes.
Thank you, Lascian Corla. The questions being debated in the House are these. Should the Eighth Amendment be removed from the Irish Constitution? And if so, under what conditions should abortion be available in Ireland? I'll address each of these, but before I do, I'd like to recognise that there is a wide range of views, both here in the Oireachtas and around the country, and say that I believe those on both sides hold those views with sincerity and with conviction. The debate in the Oireachtas has been one of passion and one of respect, and I hope that will continue here and around the country in the coming months. I believe the Eighth Amendment should be repealed. Under what conditions should abortion be available? I believe the committee recommendations have got the balance right, and I will speak to these shortly. Lascian Corla, at the heart of this debate is a question of control by the state of women and women's bodies. And on that question, Ireland has a dark and shameful history. We are becoming more and more aware of the outrage that was the Magdalen laundries, where women were literally incarcerated as prisoners. Those who were pregnant had their babies taken off them and sold. We are just recently becoming aware of the Tuam mother and baby home, and when that report is published, it will detail yet another horrific chapter in the institutional abuse of women with crisis pregnancies in Ireland. While this level of horror may be in the past, the state has a long way to go when it comes to equal opportunities for pregnant women and mothers. The survivors of symphysiotomy campaigned for years and were ignored for years. A pension gap still exists for many parents who left work to raise their children, the majority of whom were mothers. Childcare costs remain some of the highest in the world, a barrier for all parents, but in particular for mothers and choices around career. Enforcement of maintenance payments in Ireland is one of the lowest in Europe, payments required in the main by mothers. Ireland's maternity pay is one of the lowest in Europe. And the biggest rise in deprivation during the crash was experienced by lone parents, the majority of whom are mothers. And then, of course, Lascian Corla, there's the Eighth Amendment. Combined with the subsequent Supreme Court ruling on the X case, it means that abortion is only permitted in Ireland if there is a real and substantial risk to the life as opposed to the health of the mother. Under any other circumstances, it is a criminal offence with a prison sentence of up to 14 years. That includes cases where the health of the mother could be seriously damaged. It includes fatal fetal abnormality. It includes incest. It includes rape. And it exposes vulnerable women in our country every single day. Lascian Corla, earlier today I had the following experience shared with me, which I'd like to share with the House. A was 18 when she became pregnant, just a few years from now. She was in first year in university and she had just moved out of home. None of her school friends were attending her college and none of her family lived nearby. She was in a bad relationship and they broke up with her believing that she was free of him. One night, several months later, he arrived to her house drunk and he raped her. She became pregnant. When she found out, she flew to the United Kingdom. Then she took a long bus journey and she booked into a cheap B&B, and then, on her own, she had an abortion. She told her friends that she was travelling to the UK to visit relatives, and she told her family that she was travelling with friends. Later, she admitted that she feared she could be arrested for what she did. Now, she wouldn't have been arrested. But if she had had the abortion in Ireland, Lascian Corla, under the current law, she could have received a longer jail sentence than the man who raped her. That is the legal situation in this country today, and that is what is causing women like this to go abroad and do what they have to do instead of being cared for here. The Eighth Amendment does not prevent abortion. What it does do is it forces women with crisis pregnancies, including those who've been raped, to travel abroad or to order an abortion pill online, which they take with no clinical or social support. What the Eighth Amendment does do is force women with unviable pregnancies to either carry to full term or seek clinical help from another country. Who has the right to force this on women? Who has that right? I don't believe I have that right. I don't believe anyone here has that right. And I don't believe the state has that right. The Eighth Amendment is not fit for purpose. It should never have been put in the Constitution, and it needs to be repealed. So under what conditions should abortion be available in Ireland? The committee is recommending the following. Unrestricted up to 12 weeks, in part to account for cases of rape and incest, where there is fatal fetal abnormality, and where there is a risk to the life or health of the mother. This includes both the mental and physical health, and the recommendation from the committee is that the assessment of risk should be made by at least 2 specialist physicians. Now, some believe that the recommendations of the committee do not go far enough. For example, the Citizens' Assembly recommended an unrestricted period of 22 weeks compared to what the committee is recommending of 12 weeks. Others believe the recommendations go too far, with some, for example, supporting repeal and abortion in Ireland in the cases of rape, incest and fatal fetal abnormality, but being uncomfortable about the 12-week period. I believe the committee recommendations have struck the right balance. For example, without this unrestricted period of 12 weeks, it would not be possible to legislate for abortion up to 12 weeks in the case of rape. Wouldn't be possible. And the reality, of course, is that abortion is already happening in Ireland, unrestricted, close to 12 weeks, via the abortion pill. The committee recommendations would not make abortion more widely available in Ireland. What they would do is allow Ireland to provide the clinical and social supports that these women need. There is evidence, Lascian Corla, of other countries liberalising their abortion regimes and ending up with lower rates of abortion. And if that's what we want to achieve here in Ireland too, then there are other things we need to do as well as repeal the Eighth. We need better prosecution rates in cases of rape. We need better enforcement of maintenance payments. We need to provide free childcare services in colleges and in situations where mothers need free, decent quality childcare to allow them actually get on with their lives and have the baby. And we need to improve maternity payments. It is outrageous that in a country as wealthy as this, we have some of the lowest maternity payments in Europe. When it comes to pregnancy, particularly crisis pregnancy, the Irish state has a history of trying to control women. And it has led to bad, dark, shameful outcomes in this country, many of which we're only beginning to learn about now. From forcing them to leave work, to incarcerating them, to taking their babies from them, to not providing the care that they or their babies needed, leading to infant mortality. This has to end. The state must start trusting women and must start in clinicians and must start accepting that between them they know what to do in these situations. Lascian Corla, I'll finish with this. It is important in this debate that the voices of women are to the fore. Women are in still a relatively small minority in this House. It is important that their voices are heard in this House, in the Seanad and across the country. And when that debate is done, it is my hope that the Eighth Amendment is repealed and is gone from our Constitution. It is my hope that the recommendations from the committee are seen in the legislation that is proposed and that ultimately is passed by the Oireachtas. It is my belief that this will lead to a more compassionate Ireland. It is my belief that repealing the Eighth and following through with the committee recommendations would be an important step on a road to a truly equal Ireland. Thank you, Lascian Corla.